perspective, it was so tough to take.
And I think
maybe not enough to put you to sleep or anything, but it
didn't put me to sleep. It's one of those situations where I couldn't, you put all this effort into getting there. We watched them. We were at the game at Allianz Field. We were so excited. And then we get there and we have to travel down there. And David, you have to drive down there. And me and Dave take flights, and I got connecting flights. And it's like this whole big thing. And then to see your team go down 2-0 in the first half, it's just like, you feel like you wasted just like this whole trip,
Yeah, and I decided to pick up one of the True North Elite flags.
Yeah.
And I was waving that the first half until the second goal. And all of a sudden I was like, yeah, maybe the supporter culture isn't quite right for me, because I immediately set it down. I was like, I'm not interested. Yeah. I set it down, and I think I was leaning on it with my chin on the flag, top of the flag, and I was just like, I can't do it. And the thing is no one else wanted to take it either. I don't think anyone took it until almost the very end of the half.
Yeah, and it gets disappointing. It's very disappointing. So we come out of the gates in the second half, and then we kind of, like you said, Dave, we kind of picked up play.
Well,
we did.
We started to do some things.
It didn't hurt that. It was just over a minute. I think it was 65, 70 seconds into the half. Robin Lood scores a goal and cuts the deficit in half. So just like that, a minute out of the break.
Yeah.
And now it's a one-goal game again. With already the momentum kind of started to feel like it was coming back to Minnesota. Yes. They were starting to control the game, like I mentioned. So, that got me right back in. I think at that point, the flag was started to wave. The flag was waving again, and so to speak. The whole section, the whole supporters group was back into it, full swing.
So let me say this much: when I was out in the concourse and that goal came up, that Lude scored, some Atlanta fans were over there, and they basically told me, they're like, well, you guys have a chance now, because this Atlanta team this year is not the same as last year, the previous years. This is a different team, and we haven't we've kind of started to come up. We had a bad beginning of the season, but we've started to come up. But you guys got a chance now. And I said, well, it's the road, man. I still, my dauber was down, but these people in Atlanta were like, you guys have a chance. They were very nice. They're very nice people in Atlanta there. So I think that's when I kind of got back into the game a little bit and started to kind of be more, I think I came back to the seats after the Lude thing. I'm trying to think about it. I think I did.
I feel like you did.
Yeah. And so, so then the rest of the game was pretty much, it was back and forth, I think, kind of a...
it was. It was. The thing is it was...
I said it before. I called it an entertaining game. It was wide open. There were some big saves on both ends. Chances, shots. Entertaining. And then, it even got a little bit more entertaining, very quickly in the span of 3 minutes. Just after the 70th minute, Perez got a yellow card, and then just a few minutes later, he got his second yellow card. They were both... The first one was just a reckless yellow card that he really had no business. And then the second one, he got all bent out of shape and was complaining about it. But it was a clear foul.
Oh, yeah.
For his second yellow in the span of 3 minutes. And so now... There he is.
There's a chance.
Atlanta's down to 10 men in the 74th minute. And from that point on, Minnesota was really pushing, really pushing.
And, the nice thing is about that is it gave us an opportunity, where maybe we were probably running a lot of gas a little bit.
Yeah, we were.
With how back and forth it was. The negative about it was that the passing never broke the 18-yard box.
Yeah.
I'm looking at our completed passes, successful passes in the second half. We had several successful, we had several key passes, which were, 3 of them were corners. But overall, the passing, it was like it hit a brick wall at the 18-yard box.
Yep.
And I think that's why the stats show even possession, because we just we did a lot of probing and never actually got in there.
Yep.
And especially when you look at Atlanta's passing, they have dozens of passes that are inside the box. I mean, now their passing was much less everywhere else, but the amount of passing that's in that final third was significant, and it made it for a very exciting game. I mean, because even though we were probably on the front foot in terms of possession in the second half, Atlanta had a lot of opportunities.
Yeah.
But it's what it is.
It is what it is. We end up losing the game 2-1. I want to say congratulations to Atlanta. They played a great game. And like I said before, the fans down there were fantastic.
They were. I really don't like the stadium atmosphere. I told John over
it's the whole
over Facebook message. I'm like, it's super, super plastic.
Yeah, it is because it's a football stadium.
It's a football stadium. It's very football. It's very.
It is.
There's a lot of noise.
Yeah,
and I'm like, this isn't fan noise. It's generated.
It's
noise.
Generated noise. It's a football stadium. Is what it is.
I mean, I always kind of joked about that, but now having experienced it, it's like, that's actually pretty accurate.
Yeah,
but
so
it's a nice stadium,
and of course, so excruciating at the very end, added time. Minnesota had a very, very key opportunity, and unfortunately, just went over the bar. I'm sure everybody knows what I'm talking about.
Yeah,
it comes down to what a lot of games come down to: missed opportunities.
Missed opportunities. So again, we lose. We all have to travel out the next day.
Right.
We all took different routes once again.
Yep.
David, you took off early the next morning for your trek back to Minnesota.
I did. That was a long trek.
And you stopped at many places. He has a whole lineup of whiskeys that he purchased throughout his trip.
I don't have a place to put them.
He's got he doesn't really. His whole top of his bar is like full of booze. It's crazy.
Yeah.
But you stopped at so many places, and you were texting us and putting stuff on Facebook. And was there one in particular that you were really excited to see?
Well, I mean, my favorite distillery has always been Buffalo Trace. So that was pretty cool to see.
It was interesting, and sorry to cut in, but I just 2 days ago, I think I ran into kind of like a bucket list of distilleries that you should visit, and it was funny because the picture, the headline picture was a picture that I'm sure I saw from you in one of your photos that you had taken. It could have been Buffalo Trace or one of the other two that I went to.
I mean, I think I was looking forward to Buffalo Trace. I did a different tour there. They had like 6 different tours, and I did one that was kind of different. It was about the expansion.
Sure.
And that was really cool. They took us to this place where they ended up finding a 300-year-old distillery.
Cool.
Underneath ground.
Oh.
They were excavating to build a restaurant, and they couldn't anymore. So that was pretty cool. But I think my favorite tour was probably Woodford Reserve. That distillery's been operating almost continuously since 1812.
Wow.
And there's buildings on that property that are that old.
Yeah.
It was a really good time. I went through the Smoky Mountains, hiked up to 6,600 feet.
Ooh.
In jeans.
For what?
Yeah. I wasn't planning on doing that.
Yeah.
And I was like, I could turn here, and I can go to the highest point in the park. So I was like, okay.
Yeah.
So I turn, I drive the 20 minutes up. And all of a sudden I realized, you don't drive to that part.
No, yeah.
You have to get out and walk. And I was like, all right, I can do that. Because there's nothing that says how long it is.
Yeah.
And I get to it on just like half a mile. I'm like, all right, half a mile's not bad.
Not bad, yeah.
And then all of a sudden I look, and it's basically, if I had to guess, I'm betting it's a 9% grade.
Holy shit.
For half a mile.
Oh.
And I think they said it was something like 800 feet in half a mile.
Damn.
Which is an outrageous amount of elevation to climb in half a mile.
Yeah.
And it was excruciating.
I
was wearing leather boots.
Ooh.
Jeans.
Ooh.
Yeah, it was not the appropriate attire to.
Were other hikers out there saying, "What the hell are you doing?"
No, actually, I may have gotten some looks that I didn't really notice. But, it was a good time. I mean, it was I like the mountains. Haven't seen the mountains in a couple of years.
Sure.
Well, obviously, Colorado mountains in a couple of years.
Sure.
But, being up that high and you can see, I think they said on a clear day you can see the ocean.
Wow.
And then you can see like 8 states or something.
Cool.
But I didn't see the ocean. I didn't look, actually, for it. But it was a long trip. It was a fun trip.
Yeah.
It's been a bucket list to go to bourbon distilleries in Kentucky, so that was a cool thing to check off.
It worked out for you.
Yeah. But you had some flight?
I had, it's like I talked about before on our last podcast. I had,
we had split at the airport. We had flights that were within an hour of each
hour
other.
or so,
we took Marta to the airport.
Which the Marta almost broke down. Remember on the way?
I thought it might have
we
twice.
We were on the Marta, and all of a sudden it's just like,
and it didn't sound good. And I could tell from the looks of the other passengers that it wasn't just us who had only been on Marta a handful of times in our lives. But that was smooth enough. We got to the airport, and then we kind of split off to go to our separate check-ins, and then had lunch, and then I assumed everything was smooth. And
it was, I do want to say that you were talking about the grade of that hiking trail.
Yeah.
The escalator from Peachtree Station down to get to the Marta. Holy shit, is that thing steep. And it's super long. It's like this.
Really?
I've seen the longest escalator I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah, it was very long and very steep. I don't know if I've seen many others, that's for sure.
Yeah, it was...
it's one of those things where you almost feel like, oh boy, but I don't really want to hang on to the rail, but you kind of feel like doing it because it's one of those things where if you kind of tripped yourself and fell forward...
Oh shit, you'd be
you
dead.
would be rolling
You'd be dead.
a ways.
I will say... I didn't get a chance to see a lot of Atlanta because I was only there for a little bit.
Right.
The places I did see, of course, a ton of homeless people. It's a nice climate I'm sure for homeless people just to hang out because they never really get any cold down there.
Right.
So we get to the airport, we have lunch. Dave and I go our separate ways. I'm waiting for my flight, and then it says it's going to be delayed. Just like the flight from Minnesota to Chicago to begin with, my flight's delayed because the flight coming in is late. So we have a little bit of a 15-minute delay there. And of course, I only got an hour between flights in Dallas. Then we land, and American Airlines, this must be the shittiest plane they've got in their whole fleet because we land. The pilot does a 3-jump landing where he jumps down and then back. It was the bumpiest landing I've been on in my life. And then the brakes on this plane must have been bad because every time you hit the brakes, the thing would start shaking. So everybody's kind of freaking out on that. And then we get into we taxi for a bit. We get up to the terminal. Then we hear the pilot go, yeah, the terminal's a little busy, so we're waiting for a spot to get in. It's going to be a little while. So I'm going, I got a flight to catch here to go to Minneapolis. So we get in there, get on the flight to Minneapolis, and I'm in the 8th row. And I'm thinking, this is going to be great. I got a middle seat, but last time I had a middle seat on a flight to Minneapolis. I had the whole seat row to myself. It was great. I start walking. I look up to 8th row, and I have a large white woman sitting in the aisle next to me. And I'm thinking, this is going to be a terrible flight. And the thing I did was, you put the armrests up when you go in. She threw the armrest up for me. As soon as I sat down, I put that armrest right back down because I was like, I'm not playing the whole, private space type of game with you today. Still, she was able to slouch into my section. The nice thing was I had a smaller woman next to me, and she was up against the window, so I was able to kind of get next to her for the flight. But other than that, it was crazy. Dave, you've probably been on numerous flights, kind of done the same thing I've done. I haven't done this. Done connections, and then within a 2-day period do 4 different flights in a 2-day period. And then the next day I went back to work. I was at work for 2 days. By Saturday, I was telling you guys before the podcast, my body had pretty much shut down. I was sore. I couldn't think right. I was just like, I was dead because I'd had such a busy, long week. But it was still an amazing time. And of course, Dave, you had Delta, so you were okay. You were fine.
You probably didn't have to do any work all week.
I didn't do too much work, but if it makes you feel any better, I did have to sit economy.
I feel so bad for you.
I had a window seat.
I had a middle seat every time. What are you talking about? Don't even give me that.
No,
I actually like the window seat.
yeah, there